Welcome, everyone. It's Andrew Beach, Executive Coach. I'm a teacher of self-education. I help professionals communicate their value to find great opportunities faster. That's whether you're working or not. Today is Career Happy Hour. It's Friday, and it's happy hour somewhere. I know it's happy hour here today, so make everybody happy that you know. There's a little share button down below. Share this with your network on LinkedIn. I'm also joining today by Periscope, YouTube, and in my Facebook group, How to Find Jobs Without a Resume. It's good to see everyone today. If you have any questions, by all means, there should be a chat on the side. Go ahead and put your questions in there. I'm happy to answer. Today, of course, we're continuing book club, and I'm sure you'll be excited to know we're on chapter 3. So let's see if there's any questions. None yet so far. It's really good to have you all here today. We're going to continue our discussion of my very favorite networking book of all time. And that is the National Business Employment Weekly book on networking. It's also part of the Wall Street Journal, and it's the Insider's Strategies for Tapping the Hidden Market Where Most Jobs Are Found. And so we're going through this book together as a book club. You can get a copy of the book on Amazon. It's no longer in print, but there are used copies. I've seen them as cheap as 99 cents and as much as maybe $3, $4. And the shipping, of course, is like $7 or $8, shipping and handling. So the shipping and handling probably be more than the cost of the book. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you have any questions, by all means, leave them in the chat. I am happy to answer any question that you have about career, networking, market planning, interviewing, that sort of thing. Go ahead and leave that in the chat and share this with someone that you think might find it valuable. There's a lot of books out there, I think I've mentioned this before, that talk about why we should network. Many of them do not tell us how to network. And this book that I'm going to go through the different chapters is going to really help us with that process. So without further ado, let's jump into chapter 3. Who should I see and why will they see me? There's a nice little cartoon here too as well. Interview. It's a guy that's really thirsty, like he's been crawling across the desert. But who should I see and why will they see me? If you've begun to contemplate how you'll identify potential networking contacts, chances are you're also fretting about another issue. You're probably thinking, this whole networking technique is going to require that I write or call a bunch of people who don't know me and who owe me something. And owe me nothing. I have to ask them to give me some of their precious time and almost assume that they're going to do it. Why in the world would they do that? In today's business world where time is money, what incentive does anyone have to give time away? All good questions. Radio station WITN FM. In fact, let's get over to our... There we go. Much better. Radio station, it's an acronym, by the way. Radio station WITN-FM. The job market has its share of altruists and charitable souls, but they're not numerous enough to explain networking's long success as the premier job search technique. Most theories of job search motivation are broadcast on the frequency of WITN-FM. What's in this networking for me? To understand why your bunch of people are going to give you one of their scarcest resources, their time, consider the benefits that will accrue to them. You know your close friends will see you. They've got to. That's the essence of friendship. If they value the relationship, they'll rise to the occasion. One of the fastest ways to distinguish a real friend from an acquaintance or a fair weather friend is to ask the friend to expand time and effort in the relationship. If he runs for the hills or prefers an empty sleeve, you'll know the relationship was insubstantial. Given that real friendship is a two-way street, it follows that you'll stand willing to help your friends when they have a need. Isn't that true? Wouldn't you help your friends if they had a need? It's possible to start your networking efforts cold, with people you've never met. Headhunters do it all the time. But it's easier and less daunting to start the process with the people you know best and trust the most. Your path outward from there will be much smoother. When you've cultivated all the contacts you know and have begun to reach out to people who you don't know and who owe you nothing, a different, more pragmatic set of WITN-FM incentives kick in. A lot of people will agree to network with you as a favor to the person who referred you to them. Once that favor has been conferred, they know that two people have an unspoken obligation to return the favor. One, you, and two, the person who referred you. Most of us carry an informal but indelible tally of whom we've granted favors to, who owes us one, and who has granted favors to us. The business world is lubricated by what I call a pseudo-economy of reciprocal favors, in which the favor is the informal but very powerful unit of exchange. The favor market, in fact, is a lot like the stock market. It has puts, calls, warrants, options, bartering, and insider information. The favor market isn't confined to job search related networking. It operates as the vehicle for daily, informal swapping of information. By tapping into it for career development and job search purposes, you're utilizing a practical and long-standing mechanism. Networking works particularly well as a job search facilitation tool. However, because the information provided can often lead to an immediate and tangible outcome, a job for someone who needs it, the gratitude of the job seeker and the sense of obligation to somehow return the favor is then enormous. So helping somebody find a job is probably one of the most gratifying things you can do. If you provide someone with a tidbit of information that leads to a happy employment, you've probably created more than a reservoir of goodwill. The response signal on WITN-FM, probably a lifetime supply of favors from the lucky recipient of your help. People will expend precious time to network with you for another practical reason. They want to pick your brain. Networking isn't a one-way street. It's an exchange of informal, juicy, and potentially valuable information. Within the dictates of propriety and confidentiality, therefore, be prepared to offer up some insights about whom you've networked with, what you've learned so far about trends in their industries, why your old employer just laid off 350 technicians, whom you know at the mayor's office who might listen to your context concern about a zoning problem, and perhaps how to program a 4-head VCR. This is old school. So what they're saying here actually is one of the ways that I encourage my clients to actually get back with people in their network is just a job search update. And that's really what they're saying here is you could have a job search update that you say, hey, you know, I've networked with this person. I've gone on these interviews. These are the companies I'm looking at. I've made these contacts. So having someone in your network that you rely on for that is really helpful. So give them the information. Soft doesn't mean fuzzy. The most potent reasons why people will see you are grounded in the workings of a human nature, not in the realities of the outside world. These soft motives may not be readily visible, but you can rely on them as universal and reliable forces. In this vein, you must understand that experts, whether true or self-proclaimed, love to share their expertise. All of us like to be thought of as wise. Each of us savors the recognition and visibility that are reflected in a flattering referral. Jack says you know more about marketing in Central America than anyone he knows, and that you are the best contact he can imagine to explore the feasibility of selling my product line there. Come prepared to listen and give the networking contact plenty of airtime. This advice conflicts with one of our other fundamental purposes of networking: to gain market exposure and be able to talk about yourself in a way that conveys your expertise and your transferable abilities and personal qualities. The balance between sending and receiving often is thrown off by the static that begins when a networker grabs the mic, hogs all the airtime, and talks the contact's ear off about themselves. A programming note: this kind of script won't win you friends or enthusiastic referrals. The second point to remember is, before you go into a networking meeting, be sure you know what your expert is expert at. The following type of exchange is all too common. Here we go. I love these things. Networker: Mr. Jones, I was talking with your acquaintance Bruce Smith the other day, and he said you'd be a really great person to network with, so that's why I'm calling. They didn't do their homework. Contact: why did Bruce mention me? In what way did he think we'd be able to benefit, or I'd be able to help you? Networker: I don't know. He just said that you'd be a good person to talk to. Do your homework. This opening is a real recipe for groping around blindly, wasting the networker's time and fostering the notion that you're unfocused and unprepared. Make sure you know why you've been referred to any particular contact and take the time to prepare focused questions. At the very least, think seriously about the kinds of information or areas of knowledge you'll bring to the networking meeting. Perhaps the most potent and predictable reason that contacts will agree to meet with you is that people like to help people. In fact, most people find it hard to turn down requests for assistance. Exactly why they respond positively to requests for help is a matter we can all leave to psychologists. Does a strain of pure altruism run through us all? Does rendering help create a dominant, subordinate relationship that gratifies our need for control? Is empowerment a universal human trait? Do we all subconsciously hope that help given is like cosmic money in the bank, a moral savings account that we'll be able to draw on if we ever need help ourselves? In today's economy, do those who have jobs wonder whether a need to network might be waiting in their own future? Who knows? The fact remains that most people respond favorably to a request for help. A word of caution, however: it's not hard to turn off that impulse by A. Asking for too much help. Could you lend me $50,000, put me up in your spare bedroom, and make sense out of my life for me? Also, asking for too much time. Could you spare half a day for me on Tuesday? Whining, wheedling, or making presumptuous demands. Jack says you're the best person to network with, so I'll call Tuesday at 2:30 to schedule a meeting in the afternoon of next Monday. I'll need you to review my resume and provide me with sound advice on available job openings. Very presumptuous. The bottom line is, if you mind your manners and show an elementary understanding of human nature, most people will see you. That leaves you with no excuse for backing away from the networking process. No excuse. Let's get a list together and start to work through it. Grab your pens and papers, folks. Whom should you talk to? Advising you to network with every living, breathing human you can get to talk to you probably isn't helpful advice, even though it may turn out to be true. Networking is a numbers game. I don't like that numbers game. It's if you build it, they will come kind of thing. If you decide that every day you're going to meet two people that you didn't know before, then that would be valuable. But it's not a game. You can gamify it. The more people you see, the more chances you have to learn the juicy tidbits of information you need, and the greater your market exposure. It's that simple. But what's simple isn't always easy. Systematic networking is time-consuming. Amen. When your networking efforts gather momentum and the number of new contacts multiplies geometrically, your greatest problem will be trying to find enough time to contact them all, return phone calls, schedule meetings, attend those meetings, and make follow-up calls while continuing to expand your network. Some order of priority has to be imposed. Whom should you see first? Whom do you relegate to second? And when and how do you reach out to scores of low probability contacts? In Chapter 1, we discussed the 4 distinct categories of networks that most of us have. 1. Personal. 2. Professional. 3. Organizational. And 4. Opportunistic, aka community affiliations. To develop your initial contact list, systematically think through your networks in each of these 4 categories. When you first do this, go fast. Brainstorm the process. Unless phone numbers and addresses come readily to mind, skip them for the moment. Don't rule anyone out. Even if you think, Herman's an uninformed noob. He doesn't know anything and he'll never know anything. At this stage, be inclusive. Set your priorities later. Next, using the models in Figure 3.1 and 3.4, develop worksheets that identify your resources in the 4 categories. Try to enter at least 2 names. Let me see what it shows here. Yeah, we'll go through. There's some questions here that I'll ask as part of the session today. Good to have you all. If you have any questions, put those in the chat. Happy to answer. Try to enter at least 2 names for each fill-in, if only to demonstrate to yourself the astonishing breadth of day-to-day interpersonal contacts that most of us have and never think about. If you don't divide your thinking into these categories, you're likely to experience a common list-making phenomenon: mind lock. The moment you're confronted with blank sheets of paper, your conscious mind throws a few circuit breakers and it goes blank. You squeeze your eyes shut, tense your stomach muscles, and push yourself to think up some names. The first time you work on your list, you'll be exhausted after an hour of pushing, and you'll find that you have 37 names written on your paper. I don't know why it's 37, but it always is. Later, after you've cooled down and had a couple of tall, cold D-inhibitors, gates will open and your list will swell to 73. Or thereabouts. You'll say to yourself, that's it? That's everyone I know? I'm done? Just as you drop off to sleep that night, the relaxation of your daily defense and information screening mechanisms will allow a whole lot of names to pop into your mind. You swear to yourself that you'll remember them in the morning, but the names will be no more remembered than the dreams you have that night. For that reason, it's very useful during list making to keep several pad and pencil units around. By your bed, by the refrigerator, in the bathroom, on one of those suction cup stick-up things on the windshield of your car. When recall is sounded, you want to be ready. Today, we can take a recorded voice message on your phone. You can send yourself a message, take a note, put it in an Evernote, put it in your calendar on your mobile device or on your computer. Establishing priorities, the 3 Ps. Let's say your straining and scribbling has given you the names of 137 people, whom you know at least well enough to say hi to. Intimacy isn't important. You need only have enough familiarity to provide license for a friendly, low-key call. You've consulted your holiday card list, wended your way through your high school and college yearbooks, consulted professional directories, reviewed your business correspondence for the past year, gone over the stubs in your checkbook, and reviewed your phone log and daily planner. Rewrite the names neatly on your listing sheets. This time with phone numbers and perhaps addresses. If you have a computer, key it all into each name in your listing sheets, into a Excel document or a Google Doc. To help a tracking database, see Chapter 9. Alternately, buy a little metal box file and create a 3x5 index card for each name. Actually, there's a lot of people that still do this manually. And whatever system works for you, use it. Do you then start alphabetically with the A names and keep wading through until you reach Z? Is there some sensible method for assigning priorities and deciding which contacts to call first? As a rough rule of thumb, think of the 3 Ps. 1. Proximity. 2. Perspective. And 3. Power. Start by seeing the people who are proximate to you, the people you know best, trust the most, and feel the most comfortable with. Practicing and refining your 2-minute drill will be far easier when the stakes are low and the lubrication of friendship is abundant. Heed 2 warnings here. with proximity. 1, your friends may take it too easy on you. They may be disinclined to really put you through your paces or to insist that you be clear, focused, and succinct. Tell them at the beginning of the meeting that one of the services you can provide is to act as an objective audience and help you to refine and clarify your self-presentation as needed. 2, your friends know you only one way. They may have an incomplete or significantly distorted view of who you are, what you do, and what you want to do next. Take steps to make sure they hear and understand your product. We'll get to these questions in a second. Product profile and job search objectives. Be gently insistent, as this networker was with his friend. I love these. Here we go. Networker. Barbara, hi. This is Mel. You may have heard that I've left the bank and am running a job search. I'm trying to get up to speed with this whole networking trick, and I was wondering if I might drop in on you at the office for a short meeting. Friend. Are you kidding me, Mel? You don't have to do that. I've known you for years. Hey, just send me a few copies of your resume, and I'll keep my eyes and ears peeled for senior lending positions. We don't have to sit down and belabor the obvious. Shut him down. The request for resume, although altruistic, is not effective. Networker. I really appreciate your reaction, Barbara, but let me lean on you to get together if we can. First of all, I'm making a shift into the development of new kinds of financial products, and the way you think of me probably isn't accurate anymore. Second, I haven't had to run a job search in 12 years, and the whole process makes me anxious. I want to be sure that I'm clearly explaining my background and what I want next. It would be a great favor if you would let me practice my presentation, give me honest feedback, and then perhaps steer me to some contacts I don't have. I know this sounds a bit stiff and structured, Barb, but it would really be a helpful thing if I could imagine right now. As you schedule your first 10 to 12 network meetings, understand that your fundamental purpose is to get practice. Don't expect a whole lot of content, just aim to get your presentation up to a comfortable level. You'll get content anyway. In fact, you might be pleasantly surprised at how well these meetings go. As you start networking, warm up on your most tolerant contacts, or at least on those who represent no great loss if you should happen to botch the meeting. Before you start making calls, rate each name on your list as an A, B, C, or D. A's will be your most valuable potential sources of information or help. Your trump cards are heavy hitters, those who owe you major favors. At the other end are the D's, including your idiot cousin Myron. B's may be people you haven't talked to in a long time. C's may be social acquaintances who like you, but haven't a clue about what you do for a living. Devise some criteria for systematically categorizing your contacts and continue to rank new names that way as they come in. When you start the actual networking process with your proximate contacts, you can begin working down some of your C and D contacts. Some of these names may not be worth the effort of a scheduled face-to-face meeting, but it won't hurt to get a word out of them and see whether you can create some antenna. Practice your 2-minute drill on them. Try some variations on the theme. Remember that what countless networkers before you have learned, your hair cutter, a C contact, knows an amazing amount of gossip that may be of incredible value to you. Once you've warmed up on your proximate leads, start seeking your prospective contacts. The ones who know a lot, are themselves well connected, have been around the industry for years, have seen them come and seen them go, and regard themselves and are regarded by others as authorities, focal points, or walking encyclopedias. These contacts include some citizens who know the political ropes and can help you distinguish the straight skinny from the sanitized information put out for public consumption. Those are the perspective contacts. Let me go back to some of these questions in these tables that they provide. Figure 3.1, personal relationships networking worksheet. So think of these people and write their names down. Pause the video if you have to. You can always listen to the replay. List members of your immediate family, as many relatives as possible. List at least 5 of your closest friends. List 10 to 15 if possible. List the names of 3 neighbors. My doctor is. My lawyer is. My accountant is. My personal banker or trust officer is. My insurance agent is. My broker is. My auto mechanic is. My minister, priest, or rabbi is. Fill in the blank with the name. My psychologist or psychiatrist is. You know, it's interesting. When you're in transition or you feel like you're not in a good place, sometimes talking to a neutral third party like a psychologist or a psychiatrist is perfectly valid. I would highly recommend. List at least 5 college roommates, drinking buddies, or friends. List 5 people you haven't been in touch with over 5 years. List 10 people you know from your church or synagogue, social clubs, country clubs, school parent groups, or fraternal organization, not professional associations. Figure 3.2, professional relationships networking worksheet. List 5 colleagues at work with whom you work closely. List 10 to 15 if possible. List 5 other people at work whom you know well enough to chat with. List the 10 colleagues in other organizations you are most often in contact with. List the names of your 5 best customers or clients. My company's lawyer or law firm is. My company's accountant or accounting firm is. You see a trend? The company's commercial banker or investment bankers are. My company's management consultant is. My company's lobbyist or regulators are. My 5 most respected competitors who know me are. I often have lunch at the club or local lunch hangout with. List 5 significant investors or co-venturers in your business or ventures. I belong to the following professional organizations or associations. I can get a membership list of these organizations by calling or writing this person. Okay? Figure 3.3, organizational and community associations networking sheet. I serve on the board of director or trustees of. Attach the list of directors of each organization on the back of the page. I am a member of the following organizations. I can get the membership list of each of these groups by calling or writing this person. List 3 fundraisers or development people you know. It's interesting. The nonprofit people who work in development, who are much like salespeople and are highly skilled at separating people from their money, are good resources, good contacts for you. List every organization for which you have done any volunteer work. Figure 3.4, Avenues of Opportunity worksheet. I subscribe to the following magazines, newspapers, and periodicals. To broaden my information base, I could subscribe to the following. The 3 ways in which I most frequently meet new acquaintances are. 5 ways in which I could meet new acquaintances are. The reason I have not chosen to use these ways before is. The reason is no longer valid, at least during my job search, because. The 5 most striking or outrageous coincidences that have occurred to me in the past 2 years are. I could get more visibility by. 2 examples of what goes around comes around have occurred to me in the past 2 years, and those are. The one reason I must be more active in creating opportunities to meet others is. That's kind of like a motivations worksheet. It's keeping you engaged in that process. War story, politics as usual. This is our case study section. A major city was creating a new authority to develop and run a high-profile cultural arts zone, and the search for an executive director had been given to a respected local headhunter. The head of a local nonprofit organization, let's call him Charlie, saw the job specification and was thrilled. Point for point, he was an utterly perfect fit. Technical skills, transferable abilities, personal qualities, the works. All looked like they had been pirated from his resume. How could he not get this wonderful job? The headhunter, however, knew things that he wasn't at liberty to divulge. The position was a prize political plum, and a powerful figure in state politics was using his clout to wire the job for a friend. Connections, not merit, would be the deciding issue. Charlie sailed through the initial screening interview like an America's Cup champion, and his spirits soared. He told close friends of his plans to resign his present position. The headhunter, a compassionate sort, finally whispered into the ear of Charlie's longtime mentor, suggesting that he have a gentle reality conference with Charlie over lunch. "Charlie, how strongly would you rate your connections in government?" asked the mentor. "Well," said Charlie, "I've worked effectively with broad variety of governmental agencies and constituencies. I know my way around." "Not my point," said the mentor. "Are you personally acquainted with God?" "No," laughed Charlie. "Do you know what que sera means?" "Sure," said Charlie. "What will be, will be." "Well," said the mentor, "you've already impressed a lot of people on this search, Charlie, and that will stand you in good stead later. But Charlie, as for your chances of getting this job, que sera will not sera, if you catch my drift. Your prospective contacts are the wise people whose primary benefit is to give you good advice and sage judgment. They can summarize industry trends, give you behind-the-scenes glimpses, and distinguish the real movers and shakers from the phonies. Equally important, they can evaluate your past, present, and future career choices within appropriate limits, of course, and help you refine your thinking and terminology. Highlight which of your past accomplishments will carry weight with employers in a new area or industry, and put a new spin on your past career moves. They also can warn you away from jobs, industries, objectives, or goals that are unrealistic, unpromising, or more unattractive than they may seem. When chatting with your prospective contacts, encourage their complete candor, be frank, and ask for frankness in response. There is a fine line between being highly motivated and being so up that others are reluctant to rain on your parade or puncture your balloon by telling you the truth. If you communicate that your zeal will cause you to turn a deaf ear to negative waves, your contacts may let you keep dancing out there in la la land, to your eventual regret. If one of your contacts says that what you so dearly want is clearly out of the question, don't accept that advice at face value and recast your dreams and aspirations. There's no requirement to suspend your judgment or ignore your research when you're networking. If someone is lukewarm about the desirability or feasibility of a proposed job choice, ask detailed questions. Ask detailed questions about why your planned course seems unpromising. In probing his thinking, not just his conclusions, you may discover these three valuable lessons. Number one, you miscommunicated. The person didn't understand your objectives. 2, certain arguments or reservations will reappear for rebuttal as you pursue your objective. 3, you may have to acquire new skills or experience in order to be taken seriously in your new career role. So miscommunications, reservations, and retooling. Generally speaking, it's best to reserve your power contacts until you know exactly what to ask for and how to ask for it. Power contacts are people who have the formal or informal authority to get things done, to open doors, call in favors, get you pulled through the screen, and make sure you're seen by the right people. If early in your networking efforts you call on these people for help and don't know what kind of help to ask for, you run the risk of turning them off, dissipating the momentum they can provide, and losing the benefit of their clout forever. It It isn't my job to make sense out of your life, the president of a major pharmaceutical company told a networker, a senior manager in a related industry. Wow. When he called to ask for a meeting. I'm not interested in helping you objectify your objectives or prioritize your priorities. When you can tell me precisely whom you want to see and why you want to see them, call me back and we'll sit down to talk. Hold up your end and I'll be happy to open some doors. Waste my time and you'll wish you hadn't. How refreshing is that? There will be people who bridge all three P's. You probably have some wise and powerful friends. The point is, networking contacts come in all denominations, and if you spend all the big bills first and don't hit pay dirt, you'll have nothing but small change left later on. For most job seekers, and certainly for the vast majority of career changers, the initial phase of networking is one of gaining confidence, focus, goal clarity, and as much information as you can about where the big game are to be found. It's a time for learning new terms of art and shop talk, for ruling out unrealistic ideas and mistaken assumptions. It is, to mix a metaphor, more likely to be a time of sowing than a time of reaping. Don't be impatient. Don't go for the first hit. Don't indulge in rescue fantasies. If a heavy hitter steps in and decides to champion your cause, great, but understand that such luck is the exception, not the norm. So be prepared for it. That's my advice. Be prepared. As you progress in your networking, the task of keeping track of all the old contacts, new contacts, callbacks, follow-ups will become daunting. The easy leverage of calling on friends will give way to second, third, and fourth tier networking where no prior relationship eases the way. You'll be rowing the boat entirely by yourself. If you impress, you'll get more referrals to more contacts who have perspective, power, or both. I'd actually disagree with Richardson on this one. I believe that that first contact referral is there with you when you're making that conversation happen. And then those two prior people, or at least a piece of those relationships, is in the third degree and fourth degree. So there is some sort of connection there. It's not that you're alone. In fact, you should use that as your mindset, that you're not alone. Not that they have the same information that you do. If you fail to carry your weight, you'll know it soon enough. The meetings will be short and perfunctory, and the stream of new names, whether A, B, C, or D, will shrink to a trickle, which is tragic. The hardest thing is getting this thing going and maintaining it, and the way to maintain it is to actually be a good networker and ask for referrals and getting them and executing on them. When this happens, a lot of frustrated networkers blame the system, not themselves. Often the problem is inadequate preparation, pure and simple. Effective networkers know that you can't make it up as you go along or wing it in each and every meeting. As the process goes on, the stakes get higher and the contacts are more valuable. Plan on spending as much time keeping your lists in order as you did creating them in the first place. Huge nugget right there. Plan on spending as much time keeping your lists in order as you did creating them in the first place. As you build your initial networking list and prioritize it, remember, one networker's description of the whole process. Get this. This is his whole description of the process. No, 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 yes. No, 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 yes. Yes, no, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, yes. No, 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 yes. As with most challenges in life, it's the last word that counts. That completes chapter 3. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Let's see what we have in the chat here. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything that's in here. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Happy to answer. Happy Hour. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. So if you haven't yet picked up your copy, go ahead and grab one. It's available at Amazon. I think there's a link in the description. If you think there's somebody that could benefit from this broadcast, please, by all means, share this broadcast with your network. Get them engaged in the process. Make them part of the career happy hour gang, if you will. So if you have any questions, put those in the chat, please. Happy to answer. I don't have any showing up here. Questions? Anybody got a question? Put them in the chat. Share the recording with anybody that you know. One comment. Viraj, welcome. Mohammed, welcome. Mark, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for attending, everybody. If there's no questions, I will go ahead and sign off. I hope you have a great weekend and that you find everything you're looking for in a short period of time. Happy networking, everybody. Take care.